Let me see. Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Hope we have a good hockey week in news that we did last week. Everything from John Scott to, well, this particular situation where Lucic just thinks he broke his wrist because I guess he's a doctor during the offseason. And
yeah, absolutely. He got his medical degree.
Yeah, he's got a medical degree in dopology. But I was a little sympathetic. Who was the name? What was the name of the guy he hit?
Kamalahunan?
I can't even say his name. I can say I look. I don't know how much there is here as far as subject matter. Do you have any disagreement with the suspension?
Well, maybe I thought the suspension was actually a little bit harsh. I mean,
fine.
When you have Brandon Prust spearing guys in the groin and he gets a $5,000 fine, and then you turn around and Lucic, who, you know, some people can make the argument he was defending himself, he was standing up for himself.
Yeah,
it was. I mean,
it's
I
tough.
don't know.
You know,
it is.
It's wrong on all accounts. That's what really what we're talking about. Lucic is wrong. The spearing is wrong. Lucic is no stranger from spearing himself, and I do believe him. He probably his hand went numb. He's probably broken his wrist before, and it was a similar pain, and he thought so. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to be out for 2 months, so I'm going to punch this guy. You can't do that. You can't do it. There's no way around it. I do agree with Lucic that they were looking the other way on other things. Right. And, you know, they got out of control. But I got to be honest with you, I'm not really into blaming the referees in that situation. You got to control yourself. You know, and it was a vicious sucker punch, man.
Yeah, it was. But and the thing that kind of ticked me off about Lucic was the referee was already going to call the 2-minute penalty for slashing, and he would have had his team, you know, with the power play. And then he's kicked out of the game, and he's one of their better players. And
I like Milan.
Yep.
I like Milan. Do you like the impact that he's had for your team? Because Dr. Deke didn't think it was such a good move. I thought it was a real good move for the Kings. I thought it might whip him into shape. But Milan has a strange sense of justice and does think he's in charge, and he kind of gets bro power and goes nuts. And I don't want to criticize him too much because I don't know if I'm not above that shit either. But whether I'm above it or not, or I'm a hypocrite or not, you can't do that. It's just like you said. You put your team down. You could have seriously injured that guy in that sucker punch. He's very lucky.
Yeah.
That's 10, the kind. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it was 10, 15 years ago. He probably would have gotten away with it, and no one would have said anything. But in today's NHL, the only thing that ticked me off was just the consistency. When I see someone like Brandon Prust spear an unsuspecting player in the dick, and then Lucic, hits an unsuspecting player, I mean, it's got to be consistent. That's all.
I agree with you. I think that the refs do bear some responsibility for letting it get out of control, but I don't know. That doesn't give you license. Like, all right, the refs lost control. I'm going to sucker punch some guy. Hey, you really should call Todd Bertuzzi, Milan, and see where that kind of stuff gets you. I mean, no, that's when bad stuff happens.
Right.
My parents. My parents used to tell me, is like, that kid hit me. I'm going over to, knock him in the head. It's like, well, his head could hit a rock and he'd die, and then you're screwed. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you got to think about, and he really could have messed that dude up. But I'm going to disagree with you a little. I think the NHL got it right. They didn't go overboard. One game, the King, he'll get over it. And Milan, he's got to kind of grow up in these situations. I do. But it's just like, I'm saying this, and I know I would have done the same thing. So I feel like such a hypocrite. It's so what. I want to talk about Milan. I want to talk about Milan a little more. The impact that he's had for the Los Angeles Kings, and how you feel about that, because certainly the Kings are in much better position than they were this time last season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's all been Milan Lucic. I'm blown away at times when I look at the players the Kings keep bringing in year after year, who I always question. I'm like, why are they trading these good young players for these aging veterans or something? They brought in Jeff Carter, they traded for him, and they traded a good young player in Jack Johnson to get him. They wouldn't trade it for Marian Gaborik. They wouldn't trade it. They got for Milan Lucic and now LeCavalier. And people come to LA and suddenly they get their career on track or something. And LeCavalier's got 4 goals in 9 games. He couldn't even get in the lineup in Philly.
Yeah.
But I
Do you,
tell you what, Lucic he fits in nicely with LA, and especially on their top line, because he just gives them, you got speed and sniper and Kopitar and Toffoli, and then you got the muscle and Lucic. He goes in and does all the dirty work, and
sure.
I mean
And
he's got 30 points this year already. So
it's debatable whether fighting intimidates like it used to. I mean, we just had Brian McGrattan say it doesn't work the same way anymore. Things have changed too much. But whether Milan drops the gloves or he doesn't, he does have an intimidation factor. He looks
absolutely,
like a high school football bully. I got to be honest with you, that could change the game. I mean, and he's crazy, obviously, because he ran and sucker punched a guy from behind the net. It those type of things really help the team. I thought that's something that Los Angeles lacked a lot of last year, is a little bit of toughness, a little bit of crazy. So you got Milan, gives you a little bit of crazy. He can go on scoring streaks. I've seen him do
yeah,
it in Boston. He does. It's not like he can't play. He can
right.
he can play the roles. He can go dig the puck out of the quarter, and he's scary as hell. He's absolutely scary as hell. So I think it's a good thing. But you mentioned those other players like LeCavalier and other guys that perform in LA. You think that's just a tribute to Daryl Sutter and his coaching style? That this, I mean, we've always known since 2012 this is a very well coached team with a
Yeah,
very a system, but maybe it's a system that maybe players, maybe veterans just buy into a lot better. Sutter's an old school guy. What do you think of
he
that?
is. He just lets guys, like he trusts the players, and he just lets them go out and play. He's never behind the bench like barking at guys, getting in their ear. He's not calling out his players in the media or anything. It's just like, you know what? If you're not going to play the style I want, then I'm just not going to play a bunch of minutes. He doesn't make a big deal out of things, and I don't know. Maybe the veterans really like that, but I think LA they were tough. They were tough last year, but they didn't have that edge, that
Yeah.
intimidation like Milan Lucic. And I'm never playing the NHL, but I can still imagine that when you're an 18, 19-year-old rookie coming into the NHL and you line up next to Lucic,
It's going to have
you're
an impact.
you're thinking about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This guy could kick my ass.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Daryl Sutter.
And I liked it. He's
I
a
think
good
I love.
good coach for that team.
I don't know. Hey, coach. You're down 3-1. What do you think?
Whatever.
What'd you tell the guys in the locker room? Told them to pack their bags, get in the plane, and go to the next
Yeah.
city.
You're not sure if he's a hockey coach or he's a stroke victim or
Or
something.
he's Yogi Berra incarnate. There's something very Yogi-esque about him. Being a huge Yankee fan growing up, it's just I think a lot of that's a little bit of an act, and I think I think
Yeah.
it shields him rather than, I mean, Tortorella's ideas, as entertaining as they are, is just to go back at them. I think
Right.
he deflects them because he makes them think he's stupid, and he
Yeah.
certainly isn't. And I don't know. I'm sure he talks that way to a certain extent, but I really wonder if he's just that disconnected, or it's just like,
Yeah. Sutter and Torts, I think, both think that, a lot of people in the media ask stupid questions and they are
Sure.
stupid. They just reply differently. Torts will just go back at you and tell it like
Yeah.
it is, where Sutter kind of gentles around and
Sutter. Well, he's made reporters look stupid on occasion. By
Right.
the best way to make reporters look dumb is answer their question directly.
Yeah.
Coach, what do you think we got to do? What do we have to do to win tonight?
Score more goals.
Yeah, score more goals. That's the plan. Talk
Score more than the other team.
Yeah,
Then we
yeah.
win every time.
Told the other guys to step up. And I saw something in him in a long time. I think he puts that on a little bit, and that's another way to say the media. People don't really understand. Like the media can be very disruptive in a locker room. We take all this stuff. As a hockey fans, and sports fans in general, we take all this stuff for granted because they're not writing stories about us.
Mhm.
They're not, talking about what happened with our girlfriends. They're not doing all that stuff. And I'll be perfect if I haven't proved anything at all. I mean, these guys have an absolute resentment and jealousy towards these dudes, and they don't like the
Some of them.
Some of them, not all. I wouldn't say Bob
Yeah.
McKenzie's like that. And in fact, I think Bob McKenzie's a player's guy. You don't think for a minute that Bob McKenzie didn't leak that story about John Scott just to help him out? I bet he did. I
Yeah.
I bet the NHL is not really happy with Bob McKenzie. There are reporters out there, but they're very few and far between. Most of them are perpetual emotional college students that are angry about some dude, none of which are in the Blackhawks locker room, that stole their girlfriend because he's better looking and in better shape and he's better at hockey and he makes more money than you. And that's it's these simple human jealousies. So you have these guys writing stories about you and stuff like that. It can affect you in the locker room. So I think guys like Sutter and Tortorella are acutely aware of that, and they just go about it in very different ways. I got to be honest with you. Entertainment value, I like Tortorella. More effective way to deal with the media, being Daryl Sutter.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to take about
Yeah.
that. How you feeling about
Absolutely.
your team? We can make this sort of a King show since you're on. I don't really do too many Kings.
I tell you,
How you feeling about things lately?
I, I I don't know. For me, all I care about, honestly, is just get in the playoffs. I don't care if they win their division. I don't care if they're the first seed, eighth seed. For the Kings, just get in. I think if they get in, they have a team that's good enough to at least hang with it. No one's going to sweep the Kings. No one's going to beat them in 5 games. I think the Kings, no matter who they play, they can make a series out of it. The one thing that bothers me still is just the offense. They play so many close games, so many 1-goal games, so many overtime games.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder come playoff time if that's going to be like,
That could wear you out.
yeah, because that, and you don't get 3-on-3 in a shootout. You get 5-on-5. Maybe that's an advantage for them. I don't know, but I'm comfortable. But I tell you, the freaking it's still got to go through Chicago. That's a freaking scary team.
And it very well made the Eastern Conference Final. But I mean, you might fear Chicago, but I think Chicago should fear you as well. You still have plenty of guys on that team that have Stanley Cup experience, which it's just battle experience.
Right.
A platoon that has more experience in the front line than one that doesn't is more successful. We have that. We have guys that went the whole way. I mean, it's just invaluable. You can't put your finger on it. There's no advanced stat. And we have Chicago the same way. And we have a recent victory over this Chicago Blackhawks team from the Los Angeles Kings, even though they're slightly tweaked because of the salary cap and what have you. So I expect that. Unless the Blues can get their act in gear, I expect to see an Eastern Conference final. I mean, you never know with the Blues because on paper they're fantastic. They just never really lived up to any kind of expectation. Very simply,
the
every
thing
season.
about the Blackhawks that scares me is just they can play great defense when they have to, and they can score goals when they have to. They're just complete team, and I think Corey Crawford's very underrated. People like to beat up on him, even Blackhawk fans, but the guy's freaking good. I mean, he's not a Henrik Lundqvist, but he's a good goalie. Come on.
Jake Link says that Crawford's got to thank his lucky stars. I don't think he's that bad. I've never thought he's that bad.
No.
But I mean, he has sort of Hall of Fame numbers too. I mean, so he has the wins. Would he win this many games with the Florida Panthers or the Winnipeg Jets? Probably not. But Henrik Lundqvist would be in no better position. So I wonder. I wonder. It's almost like a great. It was almost like when Grant Fuhr left the Edmonton Oilers, it was almost like they didn't know what they got until it left. Grant Fuhr is one of the greatest goalies that ever lived. He had some personal issues. He bounced. He's stayed in the league forever. I mean, he was gifted goalie. I often wonder when you have a team that has so much star power and depth and firepower and everything you want, and they sell the games, that maybe other players sort of get lost. Crawford, he's a bum. Anybody could win in this team. Well, it's probably not true.
Yeah.
And maybe it kind of masks how good he really is. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
And you can make that same argument with any goalie, like except for maybe Dominik Hasek, because he played in front of terrible players most of his career.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Like Patrick Waugh, he played in front of Hall of Fame defense and centers his entire career. All Ed Belfour, all these Hall of Fame goalies played with really good teams. Let's not kid ourselves, and that's what it always cracks me up when you look at a guy like Chris Osgood too, who's probably comparable to Corey Crawford. He's never going to get the credit he did because he played for the Red Wings, but the guy was a good goalie.
It's almost if your team's too good. That they'll sort of dump on the goalie after a while. It's bizarre. I often think that maybe Crawford would be better appreciated in New York because they love goalies in New York. If you haven't noticed, Mike Richter isn't probably half the goalie Henrik Lundqvist is, and he is he's God. And he walks in that garden, that place will light up. My favorite goalie of all time. Love Hank, but I mean Richter was. I was a kid. Now he's like old and 50. I hate that. Doesn't that suck?
Tired.
he's old and he's kind of chubby. He's a very regal-looking guy, and now he's old, and I don't like that. Even Messier is tough to look at too, because the only thing that's good about Messier is he always looked old, but now he looks old, and you see the wrinkles.
Yeah, he shaved his head when he was like 25 or something. He was always bald, and
he's going bald. There's some funny pictures of him hanging onto his hair when he's like 22. He's one of those dudes that looked older. I remember when the Rangers trained for him, I was thinking to myself, Jesus, what is he, 40?
He was like 29.
I remember some guy saying it when I was in shop class. He goes, "This guy will bring you a cup." It's like, he's that good. It's not Wayne Gretzky. It's like, this guy, he will bring you a cup. And I'm like, right. Said that about Phil Esposito, and he was no slouch either. But he did. I love talking about the 94 Rangers, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah, you gotta talk about what the good times,
It's not that. It's that you've noticed I was not. Well, I don't know if you knew who I was back then. When you guys beat us, I wasn't too broken up over it. I realized we got.
I noticed a lot of Ranger fans kind of felt that they weren't overly disappointed.
We were shocked we were there.
Yeah.
It's not like we backed up in the playoffs, but it was certainly not a favorite. I think we were riding some emotion, and we went into. You know what? I wonder if that would have been a different series had the Kings not won the Stanley Cup in 2012. I really believe in that stuff where you have that experience, and you've been there. Hank hadn't been there. McDonough hadn't been there. None of those guys had been there, with the possible exception of St. Louis, who was probably, they weren't scoring. And then we all know Rick Nash doesn't come up for the big games. So,
Well, when the Kings went to the Cup in 2012, most of them had never been there either. But I remember that 94, man, and I just maybe it's because you
real quick. Hold that thought. What happened when you guys went up 3-0 against the Devils?
2 games.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Because you didn't know how to finish it off, because those guys experienced that one ridiculous game, and you had a guy in net on the other side, depleted as he was, that knew that it wasn't over. No one gave Martin Brodeur the memo that it was over. So I think that's the difference. You had guys on the other side that had been there, and you had another guy there. It was just too much. The Devils couldn't simply hold it off. They weren't that talented a team to take on that Los Angeles Kings, which I don't know if you want to get in the dynasty conversation, but I really do believe that means something. But go on what you were saying before.
I remember 94. Maybe it was just because I was a kid, but I think there's definitely some validity to it that was like the peak of hockey is in my lifetime. When the Rangers won in 94, hockey was like everywhere. It was the thing to do. Everyone was wearing jerseys. The Rangers, ESPN, Hockey Night in Canada, all that stuff. Like, hockey was so big. And then the very next year, or just a couple months later,
they strike. They went on strike, those big dummies, didn't they?
And that just ruined it. Just deflated the entire balloon. And then after that, of course, the Devils came in, and then in came the dead puck era and everything. And
clutch and grab.
Kind of fizzled out.
They fizzled out. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing. The more popular it gets, the more I can't stand the people that like. I got to be honest with you. Like, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm not particularly fond of football fans. I can't relate with them, so we can't talk about the sport we like, because some chick told me to do this. It's like, next time somebody brings up the West Coast offense, ask somebody what it means. I was like, well, I don't know what it means. It's like, yeah, exactly. Ask a guy that talks about the West Coast offense. It's just a bunch of bullshit. Basketball, I can actually tolerate that a little. Basketball doesn't bother me because there's a lot of gamesmanship and chest beating, and I actually kind of find that funny. Baseball, the analytics, all that other stuff. And the analytics have always been there. Who wants to solve a math problem?
Yeah, it takes all the fun and the spontaneity out of it. It's too much analyzing. It's just go and play sometimes.
It's go play, and then here's a sport where if things go wrong, guys throw down. I can connect with that. It's just so. I mean, I think fans. I got in this argument with this guy who was leaving nasty comments about McGrattan, calling him stupid, calling hockey fans stupid over the knockout, and he said something to the effect of, like, when fighting goes away, it's going to become a real sport and better. And I said, no, it won't. It won't, because if it floods in, because essentially what he was saying, like, it's people like me are what's wrong with hockey. That's why it hasn't grown anymore. And I'm thinking to myself, if it hasn't grown with guys like me enjoying it, what's it going to be like when guys like you take it over? The Ryan Lampert prototypes. Speaking of prototypes, when it sounds like more of a conversation that two guys playing World of Warcraft would have. You're going to chase away the old fans. You guys are going to establish yourself, and then nobody new would come in because you're going to be for fucking dorks. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, and so I think they're the biggest danger down the road. And I don't buy this stuff. I think fighting is the next step to toning down the hitting. I do believe this slippery slope argument applies here. So that's the way I go there. We've gone over that ad nauseum. Everybody's pissed off at Don Cherry. What do you got?
Well, I saw the Coach's Corner the other night, and I'm no junior hockey expert, and if anyone ever wants to chime in the chat and kind of give us more information, go for it. But basically what I understand is that in the GTHL, you have a lot of kids, rich kids from Europe and Russia coming over, shelling out 30 grand or more to play junior hockey. And Cherry's argument is that that's taking away a Canadian kid's hockey spot. And
he's quite literally correct. I mean, he's quite literally. If a Canadian kid doesn't take the spot and somebody else does, that's simple math. But go ahead.
But he said, from what in Coach's Corner, he showed some Russian highlights from his time, the 70s, like when they first started playing Russia and Soviet, the USSR, and all that. And a guy got slashed in the pants or in the pad, and he took this dramatic dive, and Cherry was just a little upset, I guess. And I think a lot of people took. But see, Don doesn't articulate his arguments.
No, he's not very well spoken.
He's just that old grandpa that comes out and speaks his mind, and people don't like that. I think this was made a bigger deal than some people made it out to be. But
well, here's the simple thing to me. The way I understood it, Don's talking about when you bring kids over from Europe, they're going to take Canadian spots, and Canadian hockey system is for Canadians because that is pretty much their only ticket to the NHL. Now, I certainly understand why Europeans would want to come to Canada and be a part of junior hockey. That's completely reasonable. But he's quite literally correct. So I really think this is up to and I'm no junior expert either, whoever is in charge of junior hockey. If this is a conscious effort the Canadians want to make, that's fine. The Canadians do not owe the Czechs, do not owe the Finns, the Swedes, or anything. They only owe their own. If there's enough room, if there's enough spots, that's fine. But you don't have a right to come and play hockey in Canada. It's entirely up to them. And another thing, we're talking about junior, it's supposedly not professional, even though we know it is. So, and look, I understand why these Europeans could do it, but Don said something, start your own junior program. Why are you really... Canada's a very small country. We look at the size of it. It's not populated by the United States. This is their only... This is what they do best. This is what they're known for. And you're going to give those spots to other Canadian kids, the other kids. And I would include Americans in this as well. That's up to them. They want to let the Europeans in. They want to let the Americans in. That's fine, right? If they don't, I don't think it's bigoted. And showing the clip of the Russian diving from like 40 years ago, it's like... I think that's what they had a problem with. He was making an argument and said, this is why I don't want him, because Slava Lalarnov dived in 1975 in an exhibition game. Roy in Florida, you're on the air.
What's going on, Tommy?
You tell me. Are you a happy guy these days, holding on to the number one wild card spot in the East? 5-4-1.
But all about that. But this is bullshit about Lucic. That dude had it coming. It happened 6 plays before that. This was coming. That dude knew it was coming. This escalated on the ice.
Yeah, look, in a hockey justice situation, I totally know where you're coming from. And I said before that I'm not above doing it, and I'm not... It's wrong, Roy. He could have killed that guy. Sucker punches are fucked up. The way I think it should be done, he should have pushed and shoved, talk the guy into a fight, which he would have never got. And if they walk away, you call him a pussy and be done with it. You really can't do that stuff. Somebody get hurt. That's what I'm saying. Did he have it coming in the hockey justice code world? Absolutely. But Roy, we're human beings. We can't be doing that kind of stuff all the time. And if Lucic's such a tough guy, why doesn't he square off with him? Why does he get in his face? To me, I could skate up to anybody listening to this audience and punch them in the side of the head. That's not tough.
With your glove on, too.
Yeah, with your glove on, too. So, Yeah, did the guy ask for it? Probably. You don't see me crying for him. In fact, I don't know his fucking name. I had to ask Malay.
Well, you know, he's an Arizona Coyote, so
yeah,
most
he's a Coyote.
fans
Like, what do you
don't
want
know
from
it
me?
either.
You still love your Milan Lucic. You miss him, Roy?
Yeah, without a doubt. He
I
was
miss
my
him too.
boy, man. I love Lucic when he played with us.
I'm not trying to bash the guy. I like Lucic. I think it was a good move for everybody that he moved. It's just, you got to be careful out there, man. And that's why they gave. And another thing, don't worry about it. They're just giving him a game off. I mean, Jack said he would have rather had a fine, but nobody's in disagreement. Like, he broke the rules. Look at it this way. The guy might have got what he deserved, but he still broke the rules. Look at it that way, Roy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay. One more
Sure.
thing, Tommy. In your whole years of being in New York, did you ever have a canceled game like they
Yes.
did this past weekend because of the bloopers?
Yes. I think I tweeted about it.
You remember cancellation?
Yes, 1996, very clearly, around this time of year, 20 years ago, when I was my freshman in college. Yes.
I wasn't there. I was here in Florida.
Well, there you go. That's what we really, definitely, if they cancel a game of Florida because of snow, call right in. You know, we're going to talk about that. But no, yes, I do. I do remember cancellations.
Is that crazy?
It's funny to cancel out. You know, it's like I tweeted. It's like I understand why they cancel hockey games during the snow, but it's still funny. You know, it'll always be amusing, Roy. You know. All right, buddy.
They were saying people they were driving like 30 minutes away or whatever, and it would be a problem.
I don't know, man. You don't want to take chances with stuff like that. It's just a hockey game. Nobody needs to be getting killed, you know, over a hockey game. Play it in a couple days. It's okay. You know, the only people I feel a little bad for is the people that can't be there the night they bought tickets. That kind of sucks. But I mean, in my experience, in fact, this is how I remember something like this. They did. I think it was one in the Garden. I think there was also one in DC as well. They get, like, for guys like, look, I can't come back on a Tuesday night. I got something going on. I'm going on vacation. I'm doing this and doing that. I gotta, you know, my ex-wife's throwing me in jail because they didn't pay my child support. Oh, okay, here's your money back. You know, that's how they usually do it. Roy.
Right.
All right, you're the man. You're the man. Thank you for the phone call.
We're playing tonight.
Who are you playing tonight? That's a good idea. Let me check. You are not playing tonight, according to what I can see. Oh, no, you are. You're playing Philadelphia. Philadelphia. Don't let them... Here's my advice for you. Don't let them get a foothold because Philadelphia, they're not very good, but they do fight. So you got to kind of blow them out of the water early. Take them out of the game. You should be able to beat them. What's your lock of the week?
Tuukka Rask is having some problems. I think he's day to day right now.
Yeah, old Tuukka. Well, he'll be back. You guys are gonna be fine. You're probably gonna make the playoffs. The only thing I'd worry about is this surging Pittsburgh Penguins, where what's his name, Malkin, puts everything on his back every so often.
Unbelievable? Was that game unbelievable?
Yeah, it's funny. I wanted to talk to Jack about Malkin in a minute, and this guy he goes into a zone, you know. He's frightening. He's a frightening hockey player.
Score, like 5-2 or something?
Yeah, I think they were up like 3-1 or something, and he just exploded. It's like 2-0. Yeah, and then he had a hat trick. It's 2-0. The Pittsburgh was floundering around. Crosby's nowhere to be found, and then I will take this game on my back. That's leadership. Yeah. I will break you. You know, and he did. He broke not only Philadelphia but Vancouver's back as well. All right, buddy. Let me get moving. Talk to you later, bro. All right. And that's the great Roy from Florida, and he's very, very happy about the Boston Bruins. You wanted to add anything to that, or I think we covered it all, right?
No, good for Malkin. Yeah, he's been their MVP all year long.
Yeah. Do you see him in a Pittsburgh uniform coming? I don't. Absolutely.
I
think he's.
There's times I think he's not happy there.
Yeah, I get that feeling too. I just almost got the feeling like this is me reading into it, so I don't know anything. It's just like he was looking around like, look at these fucking punks, man. I got to do this shit again, and he did. You know, yeah. But look, you can't do that every game, and you probably can't do that against better teams. It's not like Philadelphia and Vancouver setting the world on fire. You can pull that shit against Chicago? I don't think so.
Did you see the report that came out that Steve Stamkos was offered reportedly like $8.5 million a year or something like that?
By whom?
By Tampa.
$8.5 million.
Elliot Friedman, I think, reported that was the the Tampa Bay Lightning's offer. I think it was $8.5 million and then 8-year deal or something like that.
So he's gonna make $8 a year. That's a pretty good contract, right?
Well, yeah, it'd be good for Tampa, but apparently Stamkos hasn't signed, so
He doesn't want to be
I don't
there.
think that.
He doesn't want
And
to.
I think that whole thing was kind of leaked out by Stamkos's agent to kind of put some pressure on the Lightning.
Them. They don't mind playing games in Stamkos camp, do they? I don't think was an
balls
accident.
in their court.
Yeah, they don't like playing. I don't believe that Steve Stamkos, just by his behavior, wants to play in Tampa Bay, and I think it has something to do with Steve Yzerman, and I don't know what it is. I saw a side of Steve Yzerman that I didn't like after the St. Louis trade. When they asked us, like, do you think this has anything to do with St. Louis not being on Team Canada? He's like, well, I don't think so. Well, you don't think so. He just went to New York and said that was the reason. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe other players sense that in Steve and don't particularly like it. Nobody was none too happy about St. Louis leaving. And it's not like, hey, look, they got a quality player in Ryan Callahan.
Yeah, it worked out nice for him.
It did, but it's not like Callahan's going to, what Callahan brings to the table are body checks and keeping guys calm under fire and leadership. And every so often he has a dirty goal in that stick of his. That's it.
Yeah.
That ain't, that's, I don't know.
They get a few first-round picks out of that, too, though.
That's true. St. Louis is going through a tough time. That was a tough time in his life, too.
Yeah.
So maybe
Stamkos will be he's got to be making at least $10 million next year, whether it's for the Lightning or someone else.
You think that's just going to make the difference, though? And the fact that, like, Toronto can give me this money and they can't, and then it's just simply that's it?
Know.
You don't want to play there.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to play there. I think it kind of sucks to the league because it shifts the balance of power a little bit. I wonder how Stamkos is going to work up in that circus in Toronto. So I guess expect Stamkos to be a trade, and we're going to be talking about where he's going all summer. Better than that than Patrick Kane's rape charges.
Actual hockey news would be fun to discuss, huh?
It won't happen. I'll be talking about somebody raping somebody. Speaking of, did you notice that none of the major media outlets reported, except for like AOL?
You mean to tell me that a major news media outlet did not report a comment in a Reddit thread or something? A comment? That blows my mind.
I got to be honest with you, I was a little surprised. And call me naive. I do believe, and first of all, individual reporters did, and they treated it seriously. It's obvious the editors didn't. I don't believe I don't know, I was talking to somebody and he said the report, the Patrick Kane thing was so slanderous that if you reported this, you probably win, but Kane's got a case because you got no sources, you got no nothing. I got to be honest with you, AOL did report it. It wasn't Hockey News, wasn't it? I do believe that those guys sat in the corners. How can we put this up and not cause damage to ourselves? And I guess at the end of the day, decided not to do it. I bet it was in every NHL, I don't know, press room or whatever they decide to go. I mean, press room. There's no press room anymore. There's an instant message. I'll go with it. If I had to guess, if I had to guess, I think they would have liked to print that story. But I don't know that they couldn't have seen. And I don't know this person that this at Sarah Connors, at Sarah_Connors isn't.
Oh my gosh.
I wonder, she's another one. I think they could sue her.
Yeah. When I saw the story, I went and looked at all the people that were, retweeting it, and apparently I've been blocked by like 5 of them. So that should tell you something right there.
You never curse at them either. I curse at them. And
it must have happened over the summer with the whole Patrick Kane thing because I don't get on Twitter all that much, but I can't that whole thing was so easily squashed. Like if you're gonna come up with this elaborate lie, like at least make it very, very detailed to where a sane person could read it and at least for a second think it was true, because all they had to do was look up the flight stuff for the Blackhawks. He's gone. He wasn't even there.
Gone. I just wish they would have released the flight. Well, I wish this rumor would have been crushed. I wish they'd find out who Sarah Connors is. And I think there should be an investigation. I mean, she's out there saying this like, this is just supposed to let women know that this person's a dangerous person. That's slander if it's not true, lady.
Right, yeah. And there was someone else on Twitter who, some sports journalist for CSN or something, who was telling people, if you've ever been assaulted by Kane,
she got owned. Her face got owned. Owned! Some joker went and wrote in there and says, I witnessed Patrick Kane abusing me. And she goes, oh, let me hear your story. I want to listen. Yeah, I saw him abuse a goalie in Minnesota. My fucking cousin had to sit by and watch.
For anyone out there who's ever been the legitimate victim of a crime, go to the police or a lawyer, not a sports person on Twitter. They're not going to help Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, what motivation could she have? Because you want to hear a story. Any of those stories, like, by the way, all right, let's look at it this way. You call me and say you've been assaulted, I'm going to tell you to call the police, and if I think it's legitimate, I'm going to do it for you, because I'm not hiding in a sexual assault. So don't tell me if you don't want the cops to know, because I'll fucking snitch on the person who supposedly assaulted you. It's my moral obligation. It's probably my legal, too.
Yeah.
You tell me you were assaulted, I was like, look, you got to go to the cops, man. This is serious. Except in feminism world. That somehow doesn't happen. But no, I am a little surprised. I think they would have aired it if they thought they could have got away with it. I think I know you don't think much of these people, but I think you think a little more than I do of them. I think you actually believe in journalism, and I don't. I think that's the difference. No, I don't believe in journalism. I don't believe it exists. I don't think it's ever existed. I don't think there's any such thing. It's just a word we use. It's you know, I think it's a word to hide behind. What's that?
There's like different levels. Like when it comes to sports or something, like, come on. But I mean, if you're a journalist in, like, you know, covering the Syrian refugee crisis in the Middle East, and you're over there and you're like in the trenches, okay, I give a little bit more respect for you. But these people they're tweeting on their iPhones about hockey, like, come on, I'm not impressed. Anyone can do that.
Well, yeah, people, that's funny. Like, people, send me like, you're not a real, you're a wannabe. No, I'm exactly what I appear to be. I'm a dope on YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's, I don't know.
It's more fun
and
that
if
way.
I would have made some kind of, I guarantee if I would have made some social justice themed thing, I'm sure Wojcinski would be airing all my shit if it was half decent. You know what I mean? That's the thing. All right, let's get the hell out of here. What do you think?
Yeah, they do listen, and you know what? That's probably like
that's why we're all blocked.
Most satisfying thing.
Yeah, I've gotten on their nerves.
Never once in my life, I never sent Ryan Lampert a tweet, and he's blocked me on Twitter. I got to him just a little bit.
They know who we are, and I think they know our alignment.
That brings pleasure to my life.
Yeah, the little guys like us. I'm a washed out soldier, and you're just a dope that lives in Illinois.
Like all the other dopes.
Yeah, that's it. So we got to do. Well, I interviewed Lampert. I don't know if you know that.
I
interviewed him. I fixed his ass. I fixed his. He thought it was going to be a slam dunk. It really wasn't. It was something he didn't want to retweet.
Yeah. I invited Jen Neal on here. She turned me down.
Oh, she's a coward. I'm talking about cowardly people. My favorite subject in the whole wide world. Let's go. Let's see some headlines. Valarnov, Stampanik, and Elliott named stars of the week. All three well deserved, especially Elliott. He's played well for the Blues. It's nice to see Lee Stampanik. Am I saying his name correctly? Everybody yells at me when I say his name right. I'm worse than Don Cherry.
It's something like that.
Who cares?
Stepaniak.
Change your crazy Polish name. That's my recommendation. Sticking up for a young LGBTQ players, Oilers use rainbow tape to show their support. What an empty gesture.
Yeah.
Why don't you say something? You feel that strongly. Say, so we're going to put rainbow tape.
Yeah.
How many? I'm really pissed off at people like that, and I'll tell you why. Because I see a lot of these pink bows for cancer. My grandfather still died of cancer. Like, I start to think you people are very empty. Speak out about it. Fucking rainbow tape.
Rainbow tape.
Rainbow tape. Oh man, that's too funny. Yeah, that's politicized absolutely everything. Children, hockey,
absolutely.
Why not? Yep. Jaromir Jagr hits his 45 game mark, earns $1.5 million bonus. Good for him.
Absolutely.
And New York Rangers news: the New York Rangers may no longer be the Hartford Wolfpack's NHL affiliate. That's not good news for the fucking Wolfpack or Hartford because there's not much. There's a lot of I guess they have them and they have the Islanders team over there. They have Hartford. Yeah, it's Connecticut's not too. Yeah, I don't know. Connecticut sucks for hockey. That's what it learns for me.
Yeah,
that's what I've learned. That's what I learned. Last night, the National Hockey League, New York Rangers get blanked by the Ottawa Senators. An absolutely poor showing. Pathetic. They stink. stink.
Rough spots right now. That's all.
Yeah, whatever. I think they stink and they're not that good, and they're going out in the first or second round. Of course, I said that last year too. And they went out in the third round. I don't know what that means. Versteeg, 2 goals, lifts the Hurricanes past the Flames 5-2. I hate talking about Flames losses. Hurts my feelings.
I know. I want them to do good.
I'm already starting to forget about them, Jackie. Already starting to forget about them. St. Louis Blues, they get blanked by the Chicago Blackhawks. Dominating performance by Chicago. Crawford gets his 7th shutout. Blackhawks take the Blues 2-0. You think the Blues could be more of a factor down the road?
If they would just have a goalie and stick with it, to me, every year they flip-flop goalies, and I'm like, just pick a goalie and go with them, and you'd probably do fine.
Yeah. Well, what was wrong with Halak? He wasn't too bad.
What was wrong with Elliott? What was wrong with what? They had Brodeur, they had Miller. They keep jerking Elliott around.
Brodeur was past his prime, and he knew it. I think that was it. But I think Jeff the Huffman's made some references like this. I think a year ago. Let's stick with a goalie. It's a fucking problem over there.
Right.
They're gonna have down. See, look at Marc-Andre Fleury. He's a perfect example. Stuck with him. He had a pretty good damn season last year. Los Angeles Kings, they take out their rival, the San Jose Sharks. Do you like beating the Sharks? Do you hate the Sharks?
Absolutely.
Good.
There's only 2 teams I hate in the NHL: Montreal and San Jose. All the others I can tolerate.
I hate them too. What the fuck? What am I looking at? The postponed. I was like, my head just exploded. I was just talking about Pittsburgh.
0-0.
Yeah. It's like,
why is that too?
My head just exploded.
They're still playing right now.
Yeah, you got me, Jackie. You got me, Jackie. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Detroit Red Wings, they take on the New York Islanders. Boston is in Philadelphia to take on the Flyers. Habs, Columbus Blues Jackets with minus a Tortorella. Boy, he must have got really fucked up.
He got rocked.
Damn. I wonder if it was deliberately. Was that the first thing that went through your head?
Yeah.
Mine too. It was like somebody knocked him down deliberately.
He was barking orders on the ice, and someone just came and took his ass out.
Oof. What movie was that? Oh, yeah. It was that Don Cherry movie when they knocked over Eddie Shore. Eddie Shore looks at him and says, okay, I'll fix your ass. And he did, according to Don Cherry. Oh, man. Old-time hockey. Like Eddie Shore. 8:38 Standard Time. Calgary is in the D. The C's in the D. The joke worked again in Malaysia here.
Yes.
Back in the day. 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. C in the D. No pun intended. Hopefully Dallas is starting to turn it around because Calgary is not having a very good season at all.
No.
Not at all.
And Dallas has big D's on their chest. Right here. A big D right on the chest.
Yeah.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, good one. He's in the D. I don't know why that's still. I'm literally like, I always like, oh, that guy's a perpetual college student. I'm perpetually 13. Yeah. My humor anyway. 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. No late night game. Arizona is in Minnesota to take on those North Stars. That's right, I said North Stars. You want to promote your channel, Jack? I remembered. Did you see that?
Jack Milhagi Show, YouTube. Check it out. It's about all I got.
Jack Malay Hockey Show on YouTube. You can check our front page right here on Shot from the Point and click on it because he's a friend of the show and he's really good. And I'm watching more of your stuff lately, by the way.
Whoa, you haven't been watching all this time, huh?
No, I don't watch everyone. Fucking damn right. People make stuff like. I'm not gonna name any names because like, hey, did you see that? No, and they're like shocked that I'm so honest. They're like, aren't you gonna lie about it? I'm like, no, because if I lie about it, you're gonna think I'm a bigger dick down the road. I might as well just get the dick out right now. Just whip it out and show it it's there, and your feelings can fall where they may. And then you can be like, hey, get out of my crease!